Louis. Got it. So we'll start our November 2nd age-friendly meeting now. And so welcome everybody. And Brittany, I appreciate that you got out the meeting minutes and all the prepped us for today's meeting. So for those of you that had a chance to look at the October 5th meeting minutes, they look pretty accurate to you, so we can go ahead and just accept them. Is there any changes that need to be made? Those that were there look pretty accurate. Very good. So I'm going to take silence as a good thing at this point, right? We get some thumbs up and all that. So those will go on record as final as far as posted. So I know on our agenda, and Brittany has filled me in, that Evan is going to join us, but not until 2:30. So we will talk about all our other stuff until it gets to that point, and still he joins us. And the agenda is set up for us to do that as well, with the food distribution as being the first item on our agenda. So it will be good. And Brittany, if you want to just lead into that, that would be great.
Yeah, so at the end of, I guess, following up from our last committee meeting, I had reached out to members to see if anyone would be interested in volunteering at the senior Christmas party, to hand out samples or hand out the actual just like packets and have kind of a table of resources. And I guess Michelle, jump in if it's been approved. Also, I know that we had some miscommunication about either the veterans or the senior party. And I think the senior one was the one that the group had decided on.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so I've had two people reach out to say that they might be interested in volunteering. I just need to get specifics on hours, and then I'll try and nudge people again to see if we can get some actual commitment.
Yeah, doors typically open at 11 and then dinner served at noon. So anywhere, definitely probably 11 to 1.
What is the date of that, Michelle?
9th, December 9th.
December 9th.
Yeah.
And I know that we had some members try the meals. I think the majority of people who tried them said that they would be better or best if we added some kind of protein. So just curious if anyone else who hadn't reached out actually tried the meal and what you thought.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah, I made it. It makes a huge amount of food. I added some cooked turkey breast and some grated cheddar cheese at the end and some salsa. And I actually added another can of black beans because there weren't that many black beans actually in it. But I froze about 3 or 4 portions, so it makes a lot of food. But were we thinking of actually serving it at the Christmas dinner or just giving out the packets?
I think I would say I think that depends on how many volunteers there are and what the commitment level would be.
Mm-hmm. I can volunteer to be there. It's a bit spicy, and I'm not sure not all older people can eat spicy food. It has, I liked it. It had, dried chili flakes in it and stuff. So I think maybe giving it out would be better than serving it, but I can definitely commit to being there at 11 o'clock on the 9th. So.
Yeah, due to space, the position of the table that would be passing them out would more than likely be in the lobby.
Okay.
People come and go.
Okay, and I can vouch for it because I've made it, and I can talk to people and chat with people. So
that would be good, and I will check my schedule to see if I can be there too. And I was thinking maybe we need to create some sort of poster, like, do you like spicy food? We should maybe give people an idea at a time, like, need a little spice in your life? Try this. Or something, but let people know ahead of time that we do know that it's spicy and you might have to tame it down a little bit. But
I sent a a photograph to Brittany. I can send it to you as well, Jane, of what it looks like with some salsa and some cheese on it.
Very good. So I understand that is one venue. It seems like we need several more. So in reading the minutes, and actually I just listened to your last meeting. So we talked about the community cafe and connecting with Eastern area. And I know I had earlier on as well. So I just need to follow up with that. And probably the different housing units. I was thinking of like Terre Haute and Crestview, maybe just like talking to Joe and Clark over there and just seeing if we could leave some in the common room or that sort of thing as another potential venue. Brittany had brought it up at the last meeting too, to combine them with our food shelves that we have over in our patient waiting areas at MRH. And the food pantries. I know Sarah had mentioned being able to give them out to down at Tri-Town Baptist, and I can check in here locally as well. So I guess, and just saying it out loud again, we do have venues. It's a matter of just like splitting them up and getting them to places. Had some been at the library?
Yeah, Brittany dropped off some, so they're in among our shelf stable food bags that we can give out.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any other thoughts, or just go with what we got and make it happen? Yeah. Okay.
I just
All right.
reiterate Eastern area. It seems
Yeah.
like a great place to
Yeah.
get out a lot of them over time since they don't expire super quickly.
That's right. So are there other updates, if we were just to move down our agenda, that we can go ahead and give before we know that Evan's going to join us?
I could share a little update. We will be having a community conversation of sorts that's still in the making. But generally the theme is about accessibility in our community and in public spaces. It's something that's related to a grant that we got to help replace our elevator, but I think it's just a great opportunity to start that conversation or continue that conversation in general. We're hoping to partner with KFI and Living Innovations and potentially some other folks on the program. And if anyone else is interested in shaping that community conversation or helping promote it in any way, let me know. The date is probably going to be November 28th. So it's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Let me just double check that that's correct. Yep. But I'm still confirming the exact timing and what would be an accessible time for something like that. So I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a good opportunity to bring together some different groups and partners and individuals who are passionate about these things locally and get the ball rolling. So yeah, that's just one update. And Nature Conservancy might actually be there too. So it'll all kind of connect.
Yeah. Barbara?
Yeah, connected to that, Diana, I don't know if you want to promote the completion of our signage up at the Michaud Trail at Crandall Park with the accessible icons, the inclusive icons. That's part of what the community is doing.
I think that'd be a great thing to talk about in terms of like what's going well. What are those things that have started in terms of accessibility, walkability? I think there's a lot of issues that touch that. So I hope you come, and if you don't, I can definitely speak to it.
Okay.
Yeah, Diane, I'm glad you're bringing the whole walkability thing back around too. Like, yeah, as far as I think it's just going to have to like frame what the conversation is in a very broad way so people understand what you mean by accessibility to get people, interested to join in on the conversation. Because the first thing that I thought of is like we always talked about accessibility just to like downtown to buildings and whether there, is a ramp or, or just accessibility to buildings, but it's broader than that.
Yeah, and maybe that's something to workshop with you all. Like it's kind of an infinite topic, and so I've been trying to talk to Living Innovations and other folks about this too. But is there a chunk of it that would be like specific enough that it might entice more people to participate, and then we can go from there, or keep it really broad and then see where the energy is. That's kind of what I'm pondering right now.
Okay. I guess keep me on that list when you have your meeting. Yeah.
You'll
Other,
see,
go
I
ahead.
shared a picture of Barbara emailed Jane and I pictures of the completed signs. I just wanted to send that with to everyone in the chat too, what they look like now. So
Okay.
Barbara, if you had any other updates about them and you wanted to share.
Amber was kind enough to include it in the newsletter, the town newsletter. And I communicated with Amy Collinsworth because she had expressed at some point an interest in having Mike Michaud come and maybe do a little ceremony to show latest on the Michaud. And so, because she thought he would be really interested, and she thought maybe when the weather was better, maybe in the spring, but it could be a nice little PR event, you know, latest on the Michaud Trail kind of thing. But she's aware of it, and I told her again how thankful we were for her volunteer work on the design. So.
And just to piggyback on that conversation about the latest on the Michaud Trail, I saw that Bobby had posted on Facebook too. She's still looking for support going forward, where there's some financial support for, you know, still equipment and to help with all the gardens that she started. So that is an ongoing conversation, and there's an ongoing need for upkeep of, yeah.
So maybe tying it in with, there's
Yeah,
some good news that we have something new and we also need more, you know, kind of, yeah.
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking in a global way. Yeah.
I can't tell you how happy I am to see those there. I really am.
Yeah. Yeah. You put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
You're part of the backstory. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Other updates, I can kind of have a pile of stuff here that I can sort of bring up, and it was brought up at the last meeting. We've just got some new dates for the MRH, the cancer patient support groups and the cancer caregiver support groups. There's not going to be a cancer patient support group. They had it scheduled for like it was going to fall on Thanksgiving, and so the group members that met this month decided to skip November. So they'll do like it's December 28th and a January 25th date. We have the flyers. Brittany had updated them, so perhaps it's just a matter of you need to send them out to the group, and then we can get them posted on Facebook. And I'll have to work with Katie at the hospital to do that too. And the caregiver support group, they do have dates. It's December 26th and January 23rd. So it looks like she's keeping, I think probably because Marie's working, you know, day after Christmas, that she'll be there and offer that as well. So those have started. And she's doing those. One other thing, I'll just keep going on some updates. I did through Eastern Area Agency on Aging, they're working with the AgeWise Maine initiative and are going to have a vaccination event at the community, the Millinocket Cafe on November 16th from 9 to 12. So I actually have a call tomorrow with the person that reached out to me to talk a little bit more about that. And I just want to express local concerns about just access. And actually, I had mentioned, I'm just concerned about the location as far as we know how hard it is to get into that building, as far as the parking and walk. And so at the very least, perhaps we can promote PennQuist for people to call if to set up a ride if they want to go to this particular opportunity to get their flu vaccination. They are also offering the updated COVID-19 vaccine. And so that's another event that's coming up for us to be able to just to kind of push information out. Is there, I know it's late in the planning, but I just thought, is that something that could happen at the library as a location? What are your
Vaccination?
Yeah.
I have to check with our insurance agent about that,
Okay.
but I will, because we'd be happy to accommodate that in the future if it's okay with our policy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just a thought when you think of what's a really great spot or place for people to go in and out of, that they feel comfortable, and accessible. So it just popped into mind, but
Regarding vaccines, Hannaford's giving vaccine COVID, as well as Walgreens.
yes. Yeah. And I'm sorry,
Because-
Barbara, you're kind of in and out, so I wasn't hearing everything that you had said, but also I know the hospital at the walk-in clinic, they had offered them last Friday, and I think they're going to do it again. And yeah, so and I'm probably KVHC is too.
KVHC did it a couple weeks ago.
They did.
So,
Yeah.
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 They don't have the COVID though yet. They have the flu one, but not the COVID.
And I'm pretty sure there's a cost to them, that those are no longer free. So it's going to be, that's, a barrier for some folks.
Actually, it was free at Walgreens with Medicare.
Okay. Good
Free,
information.
yeah.
Okay.
It'd be good to have a information sheet about all of that, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, because there's all these disparate efforts, but
Yeah.
it's like the listing of
Yeah.
Yeah,
be good
Yeah.
for a future year at least.
Yeah.
This is all making me think of another
and Hannaford's,
thing too. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
I was just gonna say Hannaford's was all booked up till early December, but Walgreens was very open, Walgreens in Bangor, so.
For people that can get there, right? Yeah. So it's another
Yeah.
accessibility.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
might have another medical appointment they could piggyback on, yeah.
Yep. Diana, you started to say something?
Oh yeah, it just made me think about open enrollment being
Yes.
right now for the next couple of months. And in the past, we've at the library partnered with Whittier Insurance, and then last year with Katahdin Valley Health Center, which we didn't get a lot of turnout for open enrollment assistance. But I was just wondering, I wanted to pick everyone's brain if there's another potential partner, or maybe it's just working with KVHC and promoting it differently to help meet that need. Any ideas?
That did come up a lot when we were talking about it earlier, Diana. So
Probably should have asked this 2 months ago, but you know
no,
how
and that's probably
how it
another
goes.
Eastern Area Agency on Aging question too, because they're a resource around that in Penquist. Okay. So I'm hearing you saying you're willing to do something at the library again. You just haven't gotten a partner right now, or
Yeah, we want to find the right partner and the right channels to promote it, I think.
yeah.
So yeah. And I didn't know until recently Eastern Area does like Medicare 101, that kind of thing. So maybe they already have that kind of program ready to do, and just a matter of asking. So we can explore that. But if anyone thinks of other good partners or methods,
Okay.
let me know, or let Nicole know.
Yeah, I think we had also hoped to kind of wrap it up with like other resources if possible. So Eastern Area Agency on Aging might be a good place for folks to start, since they have so many other resources kind of in the backs of their heads as they're talking to people. It might be a good place, if folks are looking for that information.
Okay. So Tom isn't on here, but I know he attended that. It was the ARP, the conference that was going to talk about housing. It'd be interesting to for him to share some information on that. The other thing that we got coming up, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting, is because we're heading into winter, right? Is the Katahdin Snowdown in February. So we'll have to do some planning around that. Oh, shoot. So before Eben comes on, what do you guys want to do about like our next meeting date? That's something that we can talk about. Seems like we've moved to the third. Have we moved officially to Thursdays at this this meeting time? Did that happen sort of organically, or are we going to continue with that? So in, I think, December 7th, I think would be the first Thursday of the month if we stayed with that time. Curious to know what people want to do.
I think we had switched to Thursdays because Tuesdays it's the Pokemon Club, or there's a club at the library, right? That prevented Tuesday.
It was in the summer, so that
Okay.
time is probably, yeah, it looks like it's available again, like December 5th, if we want, if Tuesday is better.
Feedback?
I'm happy with either. Tuesday would probably be my preference, but I'm available either time.
The Tuesday, is that what you said, Michelle?
Yeah, towards the end of the week, it gets nuts.
Yeah, I know. So, do we want to say Tuesday, December 5th? And we want to go ahead and just go ahead and say that for 2 o'clock?
Sure.
And we'll have to, I'll check with some of the other members, like Louis and Randy, some of the other to see if it still works for them. But that's good to go ahead early in December, not interfere with some of the, once you get to the holidays. December 5th.
The room is reserved and
Oh.
hopefully, knock on wood, the plumbing is addressed.
Right.
I won't get into that in detail, but yeah, successful repairs yesterday.
Yesterday, good, good. That's good to hear. So I'm okay with silence. How about you guys? I'm sure there's a tons of things that we could like tackle, but here we are.
I guess
I'm
one of my
assuming
favorite.
Tom-
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm assuming Tom already has the sand bucket program already organized and stuff. That's usually one thing we talk about.
And I know it
Sand
was
bucket.
talked about at the last meeting. It seems like they were ready to
Yeah.
go. There we go. Hi, Evan.
Hi Jane. Hi
Hey
Diana.
there.
Hi Brittany.
Hi.
Hi folks.
Think you
Good to see
recognize
y'all.
most people on the screen?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well here.
Yeah. Very good. So we've like already been through our agenda.
You guys are efficient. My
We
lord.
were,
Wow.
today we were.
Good for you.
Oh, shoot.
Cool. Well, great. And I'm happy to be fairly brief here too. I do understand that you guys are sort of familiar to some extent with what we've been thinking about for an accessible trail in the Katahdin region. But I'll show you some pictures and go over where that is and how we got there. And
Yep.
yeah, feel free to ask questions through the whole thing, and I'm happy to answer them or dig up somebody that knows. Oh, I guess I gotta actually open the PowerPoint, don't I? Yeah, just give me a minute to get this booted up. And
Yeah, you're fine. Very informal group.
good deal. Yeah, I think oh, lost you. I think Barbara, Barbara and Nicole. I don't think I recognize you folks. Right?
You want to would you like us
Yeah.
to introduce ourselves?
Sure. Yeah, I think I know
Project
Diane, I know
organizer.
Jane, I know Brittany, I know Michelle. But yeah, who are you?
Okay. I worked with AmeriCorps for a year and a half on age-friendly projects, so I'm continuing with being on the committee, so.
Cool.
And I am Nicole Brennan. I am the assistant director. That's a new title for me here at the Millinocket Memorial Library. So yeah, nice to meet you.
Good deal. Likewise, likewise. Yeah, and for your benefit, I was up there in a role as a forester and then director of Baxter Park for a combined total of about 8 years. And in the last year and a half, I moved down here to Brunswick. I took a job as director of land management with the Nature Conservancy. So this is a fun opportunity for me to get back up in that in your area and visit old haunts and things and sort of explore some of the pieces of the area that I didn't get to explore as much from the park. How do we do this? Okay. Oh boy. I gotta share my screen.
Mhm.
I think I want this one. Okay. So, oh boy. Okay.
You're doing
Screen
it.
is
Good job.
There we go. So we see a big black thing with a picture of a trail.
Yes.
Okay, big black. Okay, great. Let's see if this still works. Okay, great. All right. So yeah, our intention in the area is to build a project, build a trail that is as accessible as possible. There's the language around this accessible trails and sort of ADA compliance and a lot of these things is fairly fraught, it seems, where you can't really claim accessibility for all because there's always some sort of something you can't accommodate. But we're trying to be as open and as accessible as possible for folks to enjoy a little chunk of our Debs-Knieck Lakes Wilderness Debs-Knieck Lakes Wilderness area. There we go. That's the A. And this is yeah, we are the Nature Conservancy, and so we work increasingly with people as well as natural environments to protect biodiversity and react to climate change. And our mission is to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends. This is a map that you may have seen in some brochures that are out and around in your area of what we're talking about when we're talking about the Debs-Knieck Lakes Wilderness area. It's about 45,000 acres. Down here, this is the West Branch of the Penobscot River. Here's Rip Dam right here. Here's A-Ball Bridge. This is the Golden Road. I think you'll all be fairly familiar with these. We've also got the Trout Mountain Preserve over here with the big tower on top that everybody saw from Millinocket Lake a couple years ago. But it's a very large chunk of ground. We basically bought out Great Northern Paper's debt in about 2002 and allowed them to keep running the mill, albeit not for long after that. And in exchange received this property. And so a lot of this is fairly sort of inaccessible. There, you know, the AT runs right through the middle of this, goes right by Rainbow Lake. There are 20 campsites on the property. And then there are a few other trails that we've put in the last 10 years or so. This is the Rainbow Loop Trail. And the probably the most popular one that we have is right here. This is the Ice Caves Trail. So we see about 10,000 visitors a year that head down to the Ice Caves Trail. One of the first things we typically do actually when we take in a large property such as this one is we close down a lot of logging roads because we don't do much of that kind of activity on most of our properties. So where this used to be accessible by vehicle, for a lot of it isn't essentially internally at all. So that has had the effect of driving a lot of use down here to the Herd Pond Road. And we're in the process of identifying sort of other opportunities that would make this area a good place to concentrate recreation going forward. And this All Persons Trail that we're talking about today is a pretty major component of that, and a pretty major first step in that. Well, ice caves, I guess, being the first step, but this being a pretty major next one, and a different one, I'd say too. This is sort of one of the main shows that you get when you get down to the river. Is a lovely view of the mountain with Pockwaukemus Falls right in front of you. I was just there yesterday. Actually, we were going around the site with a member of the Penobscot Nation who we're contracting with to co-create some interpretive signage for the trail. It's just lovely. This wasn't a picture from yesterday, although it could have been. But the Pockwaukemus is just, a few thousand feet away from where you actually get to hang out on the banks of the river. So though this is a raging rapid, it's far enough away that you can still have a normal conversation. So there's this lovely auditory experience that happens there as well, which is part of, you can hear it with leaf off from the road where you start as well. And that combined with the outlet of Hale Pond also coming in on the sort of the other side of a point makes for a nice auditory sort of experience to go with the sensory and other visual experiences you can have here. I do want to note that part of this, we TNC have been involved in the Katahdin region for some time now, possibly most notably helping to fund and participate in the Katahdin Gazetteer, among other sort of community development efforts. And this trail is in part a response to some of the things that we heard within the Katahdin Gazetteer, which is more, more short walks to nice views and more opportunities to open up access to recreational opportunities for many other folks. You guys are familiar with some of the demographics of the region in terms of having an aging population, and also just generally in Maine, 1 in 4 adults are disabled in some way. And so we're trying to lean into some of these notions that when we design for as broad a group as possible and as many modes of movement as possible, there's unintended good consequences for other folks as well. So when we're talking about an accessible trail, I don't know if folks have walked on these things in general before, but this is an example of one at Loon Echo Land Trust down here in Bridgeton. This is a little bit wider actually than what we plan to make, not terribly much. I think this is 6 feet in width, and we're planning to make a 5 foot in width trail. But this is kind of the idea. It's sort of a small road. That's part of what makes these somewhat expensive, is that it basically requires the same equipment as roads to build this stuff, but the equipment has to be smaller, and so the loads are smaller, and it takes longer to do things. But anyway, so the 5 foot path such as this, as flat as possible, and as if you're familiar with the regulations from the Forest Service on how to do outdoor trails of this nature, anytime you've got inclines, you sort of have to give relief every so often, depending on the level of the incline, with a nice flat place to rest, and then go further. This is, we're going to be building this right off of sort of Hale Pond, right off the Herd Pond Road down to the river right here. I think there's another map. There we go. So this is about a mile down the Herd Pond Road from or maybe more than that, according to this map, 3 miles down the Herd Pond Road from A-Ball Bridge, essentially. If you go over A-Ball Bridge, take your first left, that's the Herd Pond Road. And essentially, yeah, we're gonna kind of try to bring folks down here. And then we've got a route flagged out, which the trail builders will sort of hone and modify as they see fit. But that will come around here and check out a few cool things we think, in addition to sort of the viewpoint being, again, the main show, but there's some neat other pieces here as well. I think I've got some pictures. So there's the viewpoint, and sort of nice way to engage with that ponding feature below Pacoacamas Falls. There it is again. And then as you look downstream, you've got some great glacial erratics in the stream itself, and some nice opportunities for it's just a sweet, slow moving river at this point. This is a big island we don't actually own across the way. Oh, I forgot there's videos baked into this too. We'll see if they work. They may not. There's also this wonderful space. I might be stuck on it. Okay. That we call the point. Great. Okay. Which we will get to in a second, I guess. These are some glacial erratics that are sort of in the middle of the proposed route. Again, I don't know if we can just get different images. We just don't. Not happening. Okay. So there's a few, there's a few, like, everybody always says VW size glacial erratics. I don't know why they're always VW size, but these are actually like short bus sized, big old rocks in the middle of the woods. And I think most of us who have played around in the woods up there are familiar with this kind of feature, but we think those coming from other places will think it's pretty cool to see some big rocks and be able to walk amongst them. So we're going to sort of try to make the trail go in between these, and sort of so you can go throughout them as well. And yeah, so that's kind of the nature of what we're proposing to do here. Again, this is sort of the glacial erratics are here, and you can sort of either go down to the viewpoint from there and hang out down by the river and go to the point. And I'll try to get you a picture of the point too, since that video wasn't happening. But this whole thing is about 3/4 of a mile. And that's the other piece, is we've been doing a lot of reaching out to sort of the adaptive community and other folks that are building these sorts of trails throughout the state, and trying to understand how can we add to what's being provided to that in that conversation, essentially. And what we keep hearing is, don't build another 100-foot trail. Do something that's worth traveling for. And that's where we're thinking, not only is this sort of, that this is quite long for one of these things. I don't know the details on how many of similar size there are in the state, but it's not many. So we're hoping that this is attractive enough to bring people to the area to check this out. But we're also hoping to build out a few other ideas in this neck of the woods, so that you could come and have a good destination day of making a few hours out of this. There, just off this map, to the east is Hale Pond. We're hopeful that we can sort of build from this and make another similar trail down that way. And Herd Pond is up here also to the sort of northeast from there, or southeast from there. And we're hopeful to make the access to that pond also, well, just more manageable right now, and then possibly accessible in the future. So what we're doing in terms of why we're coming to you, why we're talking to pretty much anybody that'll listen in the Katahdin region, is just to sort of let people know about this, and also kind of see if there's other pieces of input that we can kind of bake into this effort as we build it. I think we've been thinking about this, is we'll get the trail in, and we'll continue to listen and recognize if other needs are identified from various communities. We can sort of build features into the trail after the sort of basis is there. We have a model that we're working from TNC New Hampshire, wherein there's an auditory sort of well, their trailer is in a place where you have cell service, so it's a little bit easier to do this. But they have an app that you can connect to, and you can have an auditory experience as you walk the trail. I think we can make something like that happen in a different mode. And we're also thinking about ways of, oh boy, it's the portion of the day where I begin to make up words, but accessibilize the information around the trail, and make sure that we've one of the other things we've really been hearing from this sort of accessible trail community, and I don't know, small movement, I guess, that's going on throughout Maine, is that a lot of this is about understanding and providing information before folks arrive as to what they're getting into. So really detailed trail descriptions, so that people can know what they're up against, and so that's part of it. Yeah, so as you're thinking about this, I hope that it seems like something that you might be interested in, and I'd be interested to hear any reactions from, great to I see this barrier that would prevent me from sort of being able to use this. And that's where we sort of try to get creative and figure out how we can figure out ways around that.
Well, I really appreciate you taking time to show the pictures and to see what it would sort of look like and on the trail. That was really helpful to me. And even just like some of your comments saying you've heard that people want this not to be, just a few hundred feet, that it's 3/4 of a mile. So it is an experience, and what you had said. I guess my question, and I think like the parking lot, is it going to be big enough?
Great.
And
Yeah,
easily
yeah.
accessible, so people aren't parking on the side of the road. Like that's when I go someplace, it's like, okay, I'm going to get there, and it's not going to be a
Great.
parking space. I'm going to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. We were just talking about that, and sort of, I don't have any pictures of it because basically the parking lot right now is a bunch of, trees this big that we have to cut and clear. And but what we've been sort of noodling on, I don't think I have a picture that I could show you that would make any sense. But essentially where this starts is kind of the Heideland, and right there near the outlet to Hale Stream. And how we've been thinking about doing the parking lot is twofold, in part because there's another idea behind this as well. It's a few more years out, we haven't fully scoped, but within the easement that is attendant to most of this property that Forest Society of Maine holds, we have constraints on what we can and can't do. One of the pieces that we contemplated within writing that easement was that we might want to have what was then called a recreation and education center, which is restricted to be no more than a 1,200 square foot building. There's other restrictions on it as well. We haven't really sort of fully lived into what that would look like, but we imagine it might be sort of a broader, a few kiosks, more visitor information, that kind of thing, perhaps some sort of actual structure, but not really seeing the need for that at this point. So sort of a broader area where people might want to park and get information, not just for this site, but for others in that general neck of the woods. And then a few, probably 2 to 3 accessible parking spots on the side of the road where the trail runs off. And then multiple other parking spots, probably in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 on the other side of the road. A few of those would be sort of designated accessible, and then others. And then we haven't figured out exactly where to site this, we may also sort of dip our toe in these waters to try to figure out, get some of the kinks out of the way by renting a porta-john, an accessible porta-john there, but also having some sort of bathroom facility is part of that landing experience that we think is probably important to people, to make this a place that they can feel comfortable.
Yeah, that was my second suggestion or question.
Yeah.
Porta-john. Yeah, right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and we probably won't last long with the porta johns. And I don't, yeah. So we're still working on those sorts of details. And part of this we can test out with kind of the trail crew that'll be up there all next, or for at least a couple of months next, early summer, basically. And they'll be sort of roughing out some portion of the parking lot, and we'll sort of clean it up after they go. Is the idea
Okay.
at this point. Yeah.
Others with questions and comments for Evan? No?
Right.
Well, it's maybe a dumb
for it.
question, but
None.
I sometimes at the farmer's market we had downtown, I have visitors saying, what else is there to do? And will you have brochures that we can give out to people?
Sure. Yeah. We've got the sort of Deb's ones. Do you have some of those at the library, Diana? You might. I don't know.
At the gear library, yeah, we do.
Okay. Great. Um, so we've got those general ones, but yes, I think we will be developing materials around this once it's ready for that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a good point too, because that's a sort of a difference of the Katahdin region versus other places in the state, is like the actual paper
Yeah, we
is
get people who don't
needed.
necessarily have a cell phone, or aren't that comfortable. They're driving, they're new to the area, they're picking up somebody from the Appalachian Trail and they want to do something else, but
Right.
maps are great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
I know you said this
Also,
further down
Midway-
the line, but
Yeah.
the idea of any kind of interactive, the resource center that you were talking about, I was just kind of thinking of some places I visited on the West Coast and stuff, and it really adds, especially if the trail itself might be a little bit shorter, having that just, to be able to kind of poke around and find some more information, get out of the weather if needed,
Right.
that type of stuff is really great. So just, that's my own little two.
Yeah, and we've sort of as far as we've gotten in imagining that as maybe like a roof structure with a few kiosk panels, so that there would be a lot of information. You can kind of walk in between them. And again, we're co-creating some of this material with the Penobscot Nation to try to make sure that there's space for them to tell their story, and whatever stories they want to tell around this as well. But yeah, I think something to get out of the weather, it makes a lot of sense. And I should note, and I'm sorry I don't have any pictures of this. Again, it's sort of still just looks like a wide spot in the road, but there's a nice view of the mountain from the site that we're talking about as a recreation rec and ed center. We don't know what to call it. We've called it a visitor center. We've called it not a visitor center because that was easier for some people. We've called it all kinds of things, but yeah, the information area, I guess.
Yeah, I don't quite know exactly if you said this, like where that would be on the road, but like I didn't know about anything on Herd Pond Road for so long because it's, the minimal signage. So I think just making it really clear what's down that road. Such a beautiful area, so much potential. I could imagine people really wanting to like picnic down there, just stay down there for a while since it is a relatively short trail. There's some great accessible picnic benches that are available. We have a few on the corner downtown in Millinocket. Just a few initial thoughts. I've talked to your colleague Sarah a bit about this already, so I feel like I don't want to take too much airtime. So
Great. Yeah, I should mention too that we don't have them sort of specifically laid out, but there is an idea that along the trail that we will have multiple benches for folks to sort of take rests on, and that kind of thing as well. So within that structure, there's that notion involved. But I think, what you just made me think about, Diana, is sort of like probably also a picnic table at the top of the road is going to be, that might be great for some folks, and sort of sufficient in terms of that experience in so many ways. Yeah.
I think it all sounds great and I can't wait to go there because I would love short trails that take you to a beautiful site like that.
Yep. Absolutely. Good deal. Yeah.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you, Michelle. Tell Steve to quiet down back there. Jeez. Yeah. So I think yeah, Diana has, and I think maybe some other spots up there also have some of these comment cards that we're just trying to gather other notions of what folks might be interested in seeing in a place like this and how we might reach them too. I mean, it's interesting to hear, Diana, that you didn't know what was down Herd Pond Road. Yeah, we're working broadly. So we own 300,000 acres in the state. We're the 11th largest landowner. Much of that is sort of preserved and set aside. We're not welcoming people onto some portions of these, large bogs and stuff like that we own. But I think I can say this. I acknowledge that our online presence is pretty abysmal, especially for a large organization like us. Like, we don't have good information out there. But I'd also love to hear just sort of, recognizing that paper is the currency of folks stopping in that are going to the AT or what have you, how else to connect to people and make sure that it's known that this is a resource for folks locally, I think is something that, we're still learning.
Do you know about our Heritage Plaza here in Millinocket? It's being developed. I'm hoping that there'll be an interactive kiosk where someone could go to that, tap on a map, or get brochures about the whole region. And I'm sure you're connected with them, but that's a really central point into, the end of the Appalachian Trail. We get people finishing, we get families from out of state. So a kiosk, interactive kiosk with QR codes and maps and stuff there would be fantastic. Yeah.
Great call. Yeah. Also, at the, I don't know what he's calling it now. At Northwoods Trading Post, the sort of public area just up the road from that. I think we're just mentioned there now, but that's another. They're doing something similar with updating some of the information that's on the signs that they've got up there, and we plan to
Right.
be plugged into that
Also,
one
the
as well.
Chamber of Commerce in Medway, they actually asked us for flyers about the farmers market because people stop there and want to know what their
Great.
there. Chamber of Commerce.
Great.
Well, thank you, Evan.
I thank you guys. I really appreciate having, you taking the time for us, and, you had a half an hour meeting and I took a half an hour of your time too. So it's it's a lot of time. Thank you. Really appreciate your time and input. And if you have any other ideas, feel free to either shoot me an email or fill out one of those comment cards. They also have a QR code on them, I believe, that you can kind of do this in a digital fashion if that's attractive. And we'll try to have a day in this upcoming summer where we invite folks to see progress.
That would be great. Yeah.
Once we know how that's going.
So you have made progress, because I think it was well over a year. Well, it was when you were still living in town that I think we talked about this initially.
Yeah.
At the playground, you were chasing your kids around, my grandkids.
Yes.
So this has evolved.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been moving.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of pieces to get moving. And it'll be nice to finally break ground. Not just hang flags and imagine things, but make stuff happen. So we're looking forward to it.
Very good.
And if you have any other suggestions for folks to talk to as well, we're also interested in that. We're trying to reach out to the veterans groups. We will be at some point talking to the town council as well. And if you have any other thoughts on forums that you think it would be useful for people to be aware, or people may have input, we're open to those.
Keep you in mind. All right. Great. Well, thank you. So just to wrap up our meeting, I know before Eben came on, we had set our next meeting date to be December 5th at 2 p.m. I'll make sure I get out a meeting notice about that. So thank you everybody for your time today. Here ends our age-friendly meeting.
Nice
Thank
to
you,
see you all.
everybody.